Other forms as money now acquired by the bag Ghanatube sort of four. Sisiano breaking news about Betuja every year the office of the president John Dramani Mahama. New office pan a chase information when you now fear Miss Begin in our bro or four. Obeka say and che be a Thursday year dream we are and OSP all the reports can see a pan by concerning AHSA cases are abeton promotion or four. SML contract no order for John Dramani Mahama after OSP eba abontin this information we nya beto abontin no sisi amena okasa no John Dramani Mahama wa terminate SML for contract no any other contracts be in relation to aban Ghana contract be any companies be na ade wo bia no John Dramani Mahama especially SML contract no sisi amena okasa no John Dramani Mahama will cancel a SML contract no any all existing contractor abide a war with other people abide that no a war with other people no or for John Dramani Mahama will cancel a SML contract any all other existing contractor abide that no a one now with immediate effect or for when a breaking news about to jam to be in a bro Ghanatube for my co near what is answer when you Ghanatube number is here.
That was released earlier. Tell us a bit more about what is said about this termination of SML tracks. Now, President Mahama's order comes as the Office of the Special Prosecutor concludes its investigations into the controversial contracts with the Ghana Revenue Authority. As you very well know, Special Prosecutor Kisi Ejabing spent hours Thursday afternoon updating the country on the concluded investigations. Tonight, I can also tell you SML is fighting back. Dennis Poiberi is here with more on this story. Dennis, let's start from the presidency, that statement that was released earlier. Tell us a bit more about what is said about this termination of SML contracts.
So this was a directive contained in a letter under the signature of the Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus, to the Minister for Finance, directing the Minister for Finance to take steps to terminate all existing contracts between SML and the Ghana Revenue Authority. We do know this has been a protracted matter, right from the investigations of the Fourth Estate up to the point where the OSP did announce that he had concluded all the investigations in respect of that matter, and then he's made some findings publicly available, some of which include his intention to bring some charges against some officials he says are culpable in that particular matter. But the relevant portions of the letter from the presidency is what we have displayed here, and if you indulge me, it states in part that following the conclusion of the investigation conducted by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, into the contracts awarded Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited, SML, I have been directed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, to request that you take immediate steps to terminate all existing SML-related contracts forthwith. So it's categorical. Directive to the Minister for Finance, take immediate steps, terminate all existing SML-related contracts forthwith. Now, Kemini, what makes this very instructive is the fact that when you look at the address by the OSP, in his concluding parts, exactly on the 250th paragraph, what the OSP did indicate that he said he was not in a position to dictate to public institutions who they should do business with, and that if they are minded to still engage SML in revenue assurance contracts, they may do so, except that they have to follow the law as he has indicated in the earlier paragraphs.
Right.
So that created a sense that even though the OSP had made some adverse findings against SML, he says that he's not in a place to stop public entities from engaging the entity in respect of revenue assurances. But this letter from the presidency is quite categorical. Now we do know what the next steps are going to be in respect of at least their relationship with the Ghana Revenue Authority, because these are the contracts that we are talking about. But it doesn't end there. SML will not take it lightly with what the OSP did a few days ago, because they feel some of the things that the OSP had put out there are inaccurate. And in their view, they are correcting such inaccuracies. One of the things that they sought to address had to do with the ownership of SML.
Right.
in part of the OSP's address, he seemed to suggest that there were some political of government appointees and former government appointees who had some relation to the company. SML says that the company, yes, is 100% owned private company, that it has no politician or public official ownership, and that no official, public official or politician controls SML. They also say that all ownership records are publicly available at the registrar of companies. You recall the OSP said something along the lines of Ken Oforiatta being the mastermind and all that. They also address the issue of the contract and the mandate. They indicate that they were engaged by the Ghana Revenue Authority to undertake risk and reward framework, and that they were only paid for verified results. Here they did list the 4 kinds of agreement that they had, 2 of which they were executing, and 2 of which were still pending approval. Now that there's a directive for them to be terminated, I guess that pending approval will not happen again. They also talk about performance and impact. And this speaks to the very core of the matter, because the investigations by the fourth estate was to the effect that these people were being paid for no work done. Now their contention is that they were paid for performance and that the results were verified. So they make the case that all payments that they received were after verification by GRA. They also say that the system delivered results which were measurable. They put a figure of 2 billion to be verified revenue for the states by way of their engagement.
Right.
They continue to talk about an amount of money the OSP had said he was going to recover from them. He put the figure at 125 million Ghana cedis. Now, SML says that is not true, and that in fact it is the state that rather owes them. So instead of the OSP saying that the state will go after them to take 125 million from them, they say it is the state that owes them, and that is backed by some financial records with the GRA. It continues to talk about payment models. That is not in dispute a lot. They talk about duplication. There's also the argument which is being made by the investigators, as the journalists and the OSP itself, that what they were doing essentially were things that state institutions were already doing.
Mandated to do.
SML says no, that's not the case, and they're saying that SML's work complements and that it did not replace any government functions, and that they introduced what they say is a real-time digital monitoring to plug revenue leakages in petroleum and customs operations. They talk about their technical capacity to do their work, saying that they employ engineers and auditors and data scientists and all that. There was an issue about West Blue. Yes. And that was an allegation to the fact that they were the masterminds or they were the architects of kicking out West Blue so that they could replace them and do their work. They say no, they have no hand in that. And that in fact, when West Blue left, it was Ghana Links, ICOMS that replaced and not SML. They also denied any allegations between SML CEO, West Blue, and the former finance minister. The final thing that they addressed had to do with the change of name. You recall that the OSP had indicated that the company had to move from SMEL to SML.
That sounds like smell.
Smell, yes, you can say so. But they say that no, that change had nothing to do with any attempt to get around the system. That all they did was to change it because it was for branding purposes and it was fully in compliance with the registration laws of the country. So, Kemini, these basically are the issues that SML is seeking to address. But it does appear that this has come rather too late because the president has already instructed the finance minister to take action on some of these matters.
I see. When you mentioned the issue of contracts,
yes,
and the president's letter pointing to all existing contracts, what are these contracts we are looking at?
Well, so SML, they were engaged in 4 areas. 1, for them to do a transaction audit and external price verification service. That's 1. 2, measurement audits for downstream petroleum products. Now, these were contracts that were already being executed for which these matters have been brought up. There were other issues that were still pending. We have the upstream petroleum audit. That was still pending. Approval. It means they had not executed that contract. There was also another one, solid minerals revenue audit. That too was still pending. Now, my view is that since the president has issued this directive that the contract be terminated, mind you, there's a difference between signing to a contract and executing the contract. These were contracts that were actually pending, not executed yet. So it means that these will be the contracts that will be affected. But of course, these contracts had already been suspended for the investigation and the audit and all of that to happen. What I'm now seeing is that just terminate them completely.
I see, Dennis. Thank you so much for bringing us all this information. Now, let's bring in now the general.
Order 4, when air breaking news about to you say John Dramani Mahama, why instruct air finance minister say on terminate SML contracts and all other existing contracts abindadan awonyinano with other companies. So therefore, this is SML contracts no John Dramani Mahama while that air finance minister say omun terminate no enemy be order 4 when air breaking news about to jam is beginning in abroad Ghana to former if you say mobile like no subscribe no share no hit notification buttons on my say the bear bring a bibia do content here wo when an tempa no watch no item order 4 aha and abede sem nyina be see Ghana to sort of 4 makramu nyina bedamu nyina se bebre.